country. And in sport, defending champions Mighty Wanderers welcome Silver Strikers in Waishosha FDH Bank Premiership fixture at the partially opened Zomba Stadium this afternoon. We're glad you could join us. Minister of Defense Feston Kaupa says government remains committed to strengthening national security and improving the welfare of men and women in uniform. Kaupa was speaking during the commissioning of 15 Malawi Defense Force officer cadets at Malawi Armed Forces College in Salima. Charles Wahara reports.
Kaupa said it is important to ensure that government provides necessary support to MDF, as the focus is not only on combat but modern military trends that demand interventions and new skills in various fields, such as emergencies, agriculture and engineering. The defense minister has since urged the commissioned officers to uphold the constitution, protect citizens and safeguard the country's reputation through professionalism, loyalty and integrity.
You know, the reputation of the Malawi Defense Force, national as well as international, is that of a disciplined, highly professional force, Malawi Defense Force. So my advice to the newly commissioned officers is to continue with this image, reputation of the Malawi Defense Force as being a disciplined, professional force in the various areas of the operations that these newly commissioned officers will be deployed. As you might have already noted, they are being deployed into Malawi National Service. Some will be in the Malawi Air Force, others in the Malawi Navy, and others indeed in the Malawi Army. So in all these units where they'll be deployed, my advice is they continue with the reputation, upholding the reputation of what the Malawi Defense Force is known for.
Commandant of Malawi Armed Forces College, Brigadier General Gintonya, encouraged the officers to perform diligently, saying they have joined the military at a time the region faces threats including transnational crime and cyber insecurity.
I emphasized on the discipline, and in the military, discipline is everything. And everything we do, whether you are an officer, you are not an officer, you are another rank, the first thing you think of is discipline. And then from discipline, that's when everything comes out. And without discipline, as a military individual, there's nothing that you are going to achieve. Because, as I said, I asked them, go there and serve. And don't serve anybody else, but serve that poor man in the village, in all the districts of this country. Serve the people, serve the nation, and serve the flag. So discipline is going to teach those people and also build their foundation as the officers when they command their soldiers. And without discipline, I want to emphasize, you cannot achieve anything.
The officers underwent an intensive 9-month military training in tactical operations, leadership and command procedures, among others. They have been deployed to various units within MDF. Charles Wahara, NBC News, Lilongwe.
The electricity generation company Genco says various interventions are underway to address persistent power blackouts in the country. Director of Corporate Services for Genco, Videlia Muluwira, made the remarks at Parliament when officials from Genco appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances and Public Sector Reforms to provide an update on the electricity generation situation in the country. Olive Piri has more in this report.
Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances and Public Sector Reforms, Director of Corporate Services for Genco, Videlia Muluwira, said the country is experiencing persistent blackouts because currently the demand has increased while generation has remained the same. Spokesperson for Genco, Moses Gwaza, however, said they are working on short-term, medium-term and long-term solutions to address the problem of the blackouts. Gwaza said among the short-term solutions being implemented is the rehabilitation of the diesel power generators that are meant to supplement electricity generation.
We have had challenges in procuring spare parts for these generators because of the same problem of deficiency in power generation. We've had to run these diesel engines for a long time, and I think effectively we've been running out of spare parts. So we are working with government and other stakeholders to ensure that they prioritize us in terms of Forex. As you know, most of the spare parts that we buy come from outside.
Speaking after meeting officials from Ijenko, chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances and Public Sector Reforms, Sam Kawale, said the committee has noted that the country is currently experiencing frequent blackouts because of inadequate power generation capacity, aging infrastructure, and a growing demand for electricity. Kawale said their main concern is ensuring that Malawians start enjoying reliable electricity within the shortest possible time. Kawale then emphasized the need to increase electricity generation through diversified energy sources.
We will engage the Ministry of Energy because there's some things that are very simple to fix. It's just by either giving instructions or just change the laws that they are following for Malawians to start enjoying electricity throughout the year without any blackouts.
According to Ijenko, the Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM, has connected more than 180,000 households through the Malawi Electricity Access Program, MEAP, which has also contributed to an increase in the number of electricity users. Olive Piri, MBC News, Lilongwe.
In a related development, Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts has appealed to local councils in the country to consider contracting Malawi Housing Corporation in its CDF construction projects. Speaking on the sidelines of a meeting the committee had with Malawi Housing Corporation officials, chairperson for the committee, Steve Baba Malondera, says the move will help to offset the financial burden the corporation is facing. From Blantyre, Tamvani reports.
Malawi Housing Corporation has been sailing through troubled waters economically over the past 6 years. The last time the corporation made profit was in 2019, but since then it has been registering losses until now. In the past 6 years, the corporation has made cumulative losses of about 6.5 billion kwacha, with a further projected 1.9 billion kwacha loss in 2026. Further, the corporation, whose assets are valued at about 6 billion kwacha, has a debt of about 8 billion kwacha. Chairperson for the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee, Steve Baba Malondela, says the improved CDF presents an opportunity for MHC to be bailed out only if councils can award construction contracts to the corporation, which has extensive capabilities.
We will also engage the Minister of Local Government to see if some of the works that are supposed to be conducted using CDF can be brought into this picture. Because when you're looking at 5 billion per constituency, even if you deliberately government assigned, say, a construction of classrooms in a given constituency to MHC, it makes a difference. So it is important that we engage or help them lobby the Minister of Local Government, the Minister of Lands, to ensure that they are given a specific quota within these, so that we have similar projects, projects of good quality across the country.
Chief Executive Officer for MHC, Bob Chinkango, has concurred with Malondera, saying the corporation does not require a financial bailout, but projects which can bring them income.
Malawi Housing Corporation has the capacity, has the potential to grow, but being a government institution, being a public institution, what we need is now the political will to let us grow. We should be set free to say, now you can do other avenues to generate income. Tell us what to do, we'll do it. Give us what to do, we'll do it. We're not here to ask for money from government. We're not here to ask for any subventions. What we are trying to say is that government, because we're their child, they should facilitate for us to get works. Once we get the works, we'll earn whatever we need. So the only way we'll get out of the situation we're in is if we are allowed to participate in these institutions.
Currently, MHC has 6,422 houses in all the 3 regions of the country. Tamvani, MBC News, Blantyre.
The Pesticides Control Board, PCB, has requested the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation to lobby for increased funding to the institution so that it is able to construct a testing laboratory and an incinerator to help in disposal of expired or damaged drugs. PCB Board Chairperson Dr. Victor Malopa said the exercise may require approximately 30 million kwacha. Concurring with Malopa was Registrar for PCB James Kapale, who said they are failing to fulfill their mandate due to funding constraints.
As a Pesticides Control Board, our job is to make sure that the chemical that comes into the country is certified. And to do that, we need to test it. And to test the chemical, we need to have a proper lab. Currently, we do not have a lab. Currently, the country does not have a lab that can certify a product as being effective, as being safe, or even when it expires as a chemical that would still be used for an extended period of time. And because we don't have a lab, just as we don't have an incinerator for disposing chemicals, we're incapable. So we're a country without abilities. So we are currently working on soliciting financing to make sure that we have a proper laboratory.
The challenge is coming in because of lack of enough funding of our activities as a Pesticides Control Board. You may wish to know that we only receive 30% of our budget from Parliament. We are subvented statutory cooperation. This lack of funding makes our monitoring and enforcement of our licensees to be a challenge, because we cannot execute properly our function of monitoring and enforcement without enough vehicles, enough staff.
And responding to the concerns, Chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and Irrigation, Anthony Kamoto, pledged the committee's commitment to lobby for increased funding.
We have several issues in this country: proliferation of fake pesticides, even drugs, and then we also have a challenge with disposal of such fake drugs. And then the third point, which was also we're looking at, the sensitization to the public. Many people are just selling these drugs and pesticides without being trained. Anybody can wake up today and open a shop and call himself a grow dealer. So we wanted to find out from them what they are doing about it, and they have explained everything.
And this is NBC News, a reminder of our top stories. Government underscores its commitment to enhancing national security by addressing the welfare and operational needs of the country's uniformed personnel. Ijenko says it is actively seeking solutions to address persistent power blackouts in the country. And in sport, defending champions Mighty Wanderers welcome Silver Strikers in Waishosha FDH Bank Premiership fixture at the partially opened Zomba Stadium this afternoon. Now, government says it is working to strengthen the Adolescent Girls Empowerment Program, which addresses barriers such as poverty, gender violence, and cultural norms that hinder girls' education. Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navicha, said this during activities marking 105th anniversary of Our Lady of Wisdom Secondary School in Blantyre. Simeon Shumba has the details.
Since 1921, Our Lady of Wisdom Secondary School has remained unwavering in its mission to advance girls' education and women empowerment in the country. And speaking during events marking 105 anniversaries, Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navicha, said government has developed national policies like National Girls' Education Strategy that provides a roadmap for increasing enrollment, retention, and completion rates for girls at all levels of schooling.
This school is celebrating 105 years of excellence and service. Our Lady of Wisdom Secondary School has been there for a long time and has helped a lot of girls, a lot of women to access education. And I would like to thank His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika for his commitment, ensuring that each and every child should be educated, including a girl child. That's why his government has introduced free secondary and primary education. Not only that, he has also assigned us as the Minister of Gender to strengthen the laws and policies that empowers girls. That's why we have a number of initiatives like bursaries, free education, so that our girls should be educated, and will not allow our girls to be out of class due to school fees or support.
For their part, Parents Teachers Association Chairperson Ignatius Banda and one of the school's prefect, Claire Kuleti, held the school's milestone in transforming the lives of many girls, who most of them are responsible citizens.
The school has assisted the nation very well. We have a lot of alumni, judges, lawyers, nurses, doctors, almost in all professions, where they were trained here, passed their exams here, and it is still doing well. In fact, it has improved better and better, yes, as the years progress.
Well, to me, it's something very exciting, because to be able to learn at a school that's been survived, that's been here or in existence for 105 years, it's a very big opportunity, and I'm very grateful. I'm very happy to even see that this function is contributing to a new school bus, that I'm looking forward to board, and the library that I'm also looking forward to use. It's very nice and exciting.
According to authorities of the school, the official celebrations will take place on September 19 this year. Simene Shumba, MBC News, Blantyre.
Deputy Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Francis Fole, has urged private institutions of higher learning to comply with education standards set by the National Council for Higher Education, MJ. He made the remarks in Lilongwe during the graduation at DMI St. John of the Baptist University. More in this report by Madalito Muhango.
Speaking during the graduation ceremony, Deputy Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Francis Fole, emphasized that higher education standards are critical for developing human capital, a key enabler for attaining the Malawi 2063. He called on private universities to deliver education through the required curriculum to produce graduates who meet global labor market demands.
There is no way at any point in time we would achieve the future we want in terms of excellence in education if standards are not adhered to. That's the more reason why, as government, we are taking a very strong stance that minimum standards have to be adhered to. That's the only way we as a nation can assure quality education in Malawi.
DMI St. John the Baptist University Deputy Vice Chancellor Benedicto Ogomatani Malunga said the institution is committed to providing quality education to contribute to national development.
We at DMI are celebrating this milestone against the background that it is speaking to the 2063 agenda of this country that puts a lot of emphasis on polished human capital, and we have delivered the same on the market. Some in BBA, others in ICT, and yet others in social work.
One of the graduates, Towera Kawazamawe, said she would utilize the knowledge and skills gained to drive the country's economy.
I'm ready to apply the skills that I've learned from school. Since at school we're just learning in class, but now I will use the knowledge that I've gained to apply them on the challenges that I will be facing as a graduate.
A total of 889 students have graduated with diplomas and degrees in various fields, including education, social work, and computer science. Madalito Muhango, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Government has expressed optimism that cases of fistula in the country will decline as it continues to implement the 2023 to 2030 National Obstetric Fistula Strategic Plan. Deputy Director for Reproductive Health Services in the Ministry of Health, Hans Katengeza, said this in Lilongwe during the commemoration of the International Day of Fistula. Catherine Banda with the details.
Ministry of Health Deputy Director for Reproductive Health Services, Hans Katengeza, says government is prioritizing both prevention and treatment of fistula. He said the government is working on increasing the number of treatment centers to improve access to care while also training medical personnel in fistula management.
Ministry of Health and Sanitation is doing its best by committing itself by developing the fistula strategy, which is aiming at prevention of fistula, and at the end we would want the country in all of the facilities in the districts to have a capacity of managing fistula cases.
Lilongwe District Medical Officer Maxon Zephania underscored the need for increased sensitization on fistula, saying Malawi has between 10,000 and 20,000 women living with the condition. He further emphasized the need for proper monitoring and care of expectant women that are in labor to help prevent fistula, as well as increasing the number of treatment centers.
Fortunate part is 4 in every 10 people, they are aware of the disease, which means that 6 people in every 10, they are not aware of the disease, or they have never heard of the disease. So if you have never heard about it, you can never know where to seek help. That's the unfortunate part of fistula.
Freedom from Fistula Foundation Program Malawi Country Director Margaret Moyo said since the establishment of the Bwaila Fistula Care Center in 2010, over 4,000 women have undergone fistula repair procedures. She added that about 300 women receive treatment annually, a figure she says may be low, reflecting the existing information gap on fistula among the public.
It's important that we also train Malawian clinical officers, Malawian nurses on how best they can treat fistula, on how they can prevent, and to a certain extent we have also rehabilitated some of the fistula centers.
This year's International Fistula Day was commemorated under the theme Her Health is a Right, Invest in Ending Fistula and Childbirth Injuries. According to reports, between 2 and 4 million women worldwide are living with fistula. Catherine Banda, MPC News, Lilongwe.
In sport, Silver Strikers will be guaranteed top position in the FDH Bank Premiership if they beat Mighty Wanderers this afternoon at Zomba Stadium. Silver surrendered top spot yesterday to Blue Eagles, who are now a point above them, but they can reclaim it even with a draw because they have a superior goal difference. However, a win will put them in a safest position, considering that Masters FC, with whom they share points, are also in action against Goshen-seated Dynamos this evening. As for Wanderers, a win could lift them from position 9 to 3, depending on results from other matches. Elsewhere this afternoon, Mafco host Chitipa United, while Civil Service United face Karonga United. Well, a quick look at international news. The U.S. President Donald Trump says an agreement with Iran has been negotiated, including reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian Foreign Ministry earlier told state television that U.S. and Iranian positions had been converging in the last week, but warned that did not mean agreements would be reached on key issues. Telsel Magombo with the details.
After a day of high-stakes diplomacy, President Trump has announced the U.S. is in the final stages of agreement to end the war with Iran. The president said the deal will open the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway which has been at a near standstill since the start of the war. Recently, only a few vessels have been transited through the strait under Iranian permits, spiking oil prices worldwide and driving the U.S. gas prices to the highest level in years. According to U.S. President, stopping Iran from nuclear program was a key reason for the war and insisted Iran should surrender its enriched uranium as key to the deal. Writing on his Truth Social, Trump added he has very good call with leaders of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, among others, about the Memorandum of Understanding pertaining to peace. A ceasefire in Iran was agreed in early April, and since then Washington and Tehran have engaged in talks over a long-term peace deal. The world is now waiting to see if the agreement would truly lead to end the fighting and bring peace in the Middle East. Tosin Magombo, MBC News.
Well, that item concludes this edition of MBC News. A reminder of our top stories before we leave. Government underscores its commitment to enhancing national security by addressing the welfare and operational needs of the country's uniformed personnel. Genco says it is actively seeking solutions to address persistent power blackouts in the country. And in sport, defending champions Mighty Wanderers welcome Silver Strikers in Waishosha FDH Bank Premiership fixture at the partially opened Zomba Stadium this afternoon. Well, keep up to date with our news by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. You were with me, Sifatim Susa. Thanks for watching and good afternoon.